Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome live from Sheffield. We are at Ponds Forge for day 3 of the National Winter Championships 2017. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome and a very good evening. Stephen Jameson here with you for day 3 of competition, and delighted to say I'm joined back with my partner in crime, Laura Winter.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry to miss last night. I left you here on your own. Expertly handled though, Stephen, I'm sure. Gutted to miss the action because it was a thrilling night of finals by all accounts. But back here for day 3, we've got so much in store for you. James Guy, Molly Renshaw and Siobhan Marie O'Connor all in action tonight. And of course, here at the Winter National Championships, this year only, the stakes are that little bit higher. Swimmers here, the best England talents, the brightest stars that GB Swimming has to offer, are all gunning for Commonwealth consideration times. And this is it. This is their final chance to get those times. We've seen plenty of action on day 1. Ellie Faulkner with a storming swim in the 200 free, and then Amy Wilmot, Rosie Rudin and Abby Wood all ducking under the consideration time for that 400-metre individual medley as well. That was one of the highlights from day 1. Now, if like me, you missed last night, don't fret. Here are the highlights.
The night opened in style with the men's 100 metres breaststroke. James Wilby was the fastest heading into the final and was looking to bounce back from his disappointment in missing out in the 200 metres time on day 1. Having come just 100th of a second off the required time in the heats, Wilby dipped below the 60-second mark again to secure the qualification standard.
Yeah, definitely very happy. It's been a while since sorry, not been a while. I've never been under the minute before. And yeah, I've been sort of trying to hit that, break that barrier for a little while. So yeah, very happy to finally do it, and obviously be under the qualification time. So looking good for Gold Coast.
In the women's 100 metres backstroke, we saw 4 swims that were particularly impressive. One of our international guests, Canadian Taylor Ruck, was imperious, nearly dipping below the 60-second barrier. But take a look at homegrown Jess Fuller-Love and Chloe Golding, sandwiching another Canadian, Kayla Sanchez, and both achieving the qualification standard time, who will join Lizzie Simmons, who already has a ticket on the plane. The men's 200 metres freestyle was another story of this week, of so near yet so far. Cameron Curl, Nick Granger and Jay Lelliott all had ambitions of dipping under a tough consideration time, but it wasn't quite to be. Cameron Curl had enough to take the win in a very tough field, and keep an eye out for Jay Lelliott tonight in the 1500 metres freestyle, his last chance at qualification. In the women's 50 metres free, the versatile Canadian Kayla Sanchez, already 3rd in the 100 backstroke, remember, narrowly edged out Anna Hopkin by 0.04 of a second. The Canadians in particular have added not just an international flavour to this event, but stellar competition, and there's been few better examples than Kayla Sanchez. The night closed with the women's 800 metres freestyle as rising star Holly Hibbert only served to enhance her growing reputation with another fantastic swim. She'd already qualified for the Commonwealths in the 800 metres freestyle, but dipped under the consideration time regardless in a real performance of strength. A name to remember ahead of what could be an unforgettable 2018 for the Stockport swimmer.
Well, day 2 highlights. Goodness me, what a night to miss. I am so pleased for James Wilby. He missed out on that 200 breaststroke on day 1 by 0.06 of a second, and you could see the disappointment in his face. He knew he had one more chance. He was 0.01 outside of the time in the heats, and he did it in the final where it mattered. He
did as well, and he told us in the studio, he joined us later on the evening, and he told us those were the 2 times in his career that he dipped below the 60-second barrier. Talk about doing it under pressure. He absolutely smashed it last night, and we're delighted to see James potentially book his place at the Commonwealth Games. We do have to be careful. We are not putting people on planes. That is not mine and Laura's job. They have times to reach.
We would if we could.
We really would if we could, but thankfully that job's not on us. That's a lot of pressure, and we don't envy those who have to make those decisions. There are consideration times to be met. If someone meets the time, then they have the chance of getting on the plane. But it's just a chance, it's not a guaranteed ticket.
No, absolutely, the stakes truly high. And as you said, James will be peaking at exactly the right moment. What a night to go. Sub 1 minute over the 100 breaststroke. Of course, not the only swimming happening at the moment. The European Short Course Championships are well underway in Copenhagen in Denmark. We'll try and bring you some updates from Denmark throughout the course of the evening as and when we get them. But they're not the only European action to look forward to either next year. Take a look at this.
Gets ahead right on the line.
Well, a big, big year next year. Make no mistake about it. We've obviously got the Commonwealths that we're interested in terms of qualification from this event right here. But towards the back end of next year, well, not even that. It's the main summer event, really. We're talking only August. The European Championships are in town in Glasgow. A busy, busy year of swimming. And that's the same in the pool tonight as well. We kick off the action with the men's 200 meters fly. Keep an eye out on James Guy. He's looking to add another swim to his program at the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, and he went pretty well in the heats this morning. Women's 200 meter breaststroke then follows. We'll see Molly Renshaw go in that one. She's already booked her place, but she's swimming very, very quickly indeed. We then have a little bit of a splash and dash section right in the middle. Men's 50 back, women's 50 fly, and men's 100 meter freestyle. We then slow it down a little bit in a 4x2 relay, and we end with what's going to be a fascinating men's 1500 meter freestyle final.
It is, it's going to be brilliant. You can hear behind us the officials being introduced to the crowds coming out onto poolside, which means our finals are just moments away. Now, a word on James Guy. He has already qualified for the 100 meter fly, the 200 freestyle and the 400 freestyle as well. But he's looking to add just one more event to his schedule, his very busy schedule on the Gold Coast next year. I've also heard cheeky rumours up here in the studio. He's going for the British record. That is Michael Rock's record of 154.58.
That's been around a little while as well.
His PB only 155.91. So that would take some going, but clearly the man is in form and he's confident, and that's what counts.
Well, he's had such a wonderful couple of years. Obviously at the Olympics in 2016, at the Worlds this year, he's won medals at these competitions. This is what James Guy is all about, giving himself a challenge and setting it, and he is going in lane 4 at the men's 200 meter fly A final. You see the full start list there as our swimmers start to be introduced onto the pool deck. There is the man of the moment, James Guy. Swims out the Bath National Centre, and he'll be looking to set a pretty high standard today. Joe Litchfield went yesterday, Laura, in the 400 IM and looked pretty impressive as well. He's
in form, isn't he? He's hitting PBs, and he's actually within a second of the consideration time for this 200 fly, which is a 1:58.29. So Joe Litchfield, he's a man very much on the rise. He's a youngster. His older brother, Max, already in the Gold Coast, already in the team for the Commonwealth Games. So we'll see what Joe can do.
And as we head into the later lanes, this is where you might see some youngsters, but in this race, not really. Sam Hawks has been on the national scene for a little while. There's no free rides in this race whatsoever. Matthew Donville is a very talented swimmer as well from the Warriors. Jacob Jackson from Ellesmere College Titans, who start to spread out the lanes in this race. But it's worth pointing out, Laura, as we have done for the past couple of nights, that this isn't just about the James Guys of this world. Yes, we've got some phenomenally talented international swimmers at this event, and we're so pleased they're here, and we're so pleased they're going for some really impressive times. But this event is just as much about as the youngsters and the juniors who have set some really incredible times. Already today, we've had a 14-year-old age group record go, as well as a 16-year-old age group record go. So junior swimmers are using this as their big chance, their big exposure, and then making the chance count. Admittedly, this race is all about our stars. What can James Guy and co produce? Our first race then is the men's 200 metres butterfly, a final. Here's your commentator, Jonathan Bell.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, everybody. All eyes on this first race of this Friday night. James Guy in lane 4. So close earlier on to that Commonwealth entry time of 1:58.29. We've got 1:58.5. Very close indeed. Don't forget, earlier on in the year, he set a PB at the British Championships on his way to gold in the 200 fly of 1:55.91. Anything like that again tonight will certainly see him well inside that time. Decent start currently from Sam Horrocks, the City of Manchester Aquatics. James Guy up alongside him, though, as is Jacob Peters at this early stage.
Yeah, we mentioned just before the race how much James Guy loves his swimming. He's taken on a lot of events already at the Commonwealth Games. He'd love to add this one. Most swimmers wouldn't go near the 200-metre fly if they could avoid it, but James Guy, he absolutely loves this event. He's going for a very, very quick time, and he leads the way at the halfway point, 54.65. Not too far away is Peters. Horrocks is then in behind them. Warbank also going pretty nicely. Yet to really see Joe Litchfield emerge in this one, but we know he's got the stamina to finish well. James Guy, though, leads them back towards the diving pool end as we come towards the time when we start thinking about what sort of time James Guy can produce here. He's well up on the rest of the field. Laura mentioned he might be thinking about Michael Rock's British record. It'd be some time as they turn for home.
James Guy certainly meaning business here as he turns for the final 50 now. A length lead he currently boasts over Jacob Peters of Poole in lane 3. Also flirting with the front positions is Federico Badiso, the youngster who is only 16 years of age, but his PB does fall inside that Commonwealth qualification time. But the focus here certainly on James Guy, who reins in into the final 10 metres or so now, and he looks as if he's going to be well in the contention time. Coming in towards the wall, could it be a new PB? Just outside, but more importantly inside the Commonwealth time. 1:56.66 the time in the end. Jacob Peters managing to get his way into that bracket as well. Federico Badiso just the wrong side of the benchmark, but James Guy of Bath went in the pool. He knew what he needed, he knew what he wanted, and he got it.
Well, what a race there from James Guy. It looked to me at one point that British record was in sight, and he just tired. Those last 15 metres, you could see he began to just slow up. It's like they're swimming through treacle in those last few metres of the 200 fly. But regardless, a 1:56.66 outside his PB by just over half a second. That doesn't matter. What matters is he's under that consideration time for the Commonwealth Games, exactly when it matters, and hopefully he'll be adding that event to his schedule on the Gold Coast. Also, Jacob Peters, what a race. He came through so well in that final 50.
Yeah, phenomenal. And Jacob Peters is one of the youngsters in that event. Only 17 at the start of this year, born right at the end of the last century. Enough to make some of us feel old, no doubt. But that is a breakthrough performance from Jacob Peters, a phenomenal performance as well to finish that close behind such an established Olympian as James Guy is no mean feat whatsoever. Incredible time from Jacob Peters, 1:57.16, as he also slots inside a very tough consideration time.
Coming up then, we've got the B final, more like the junior final for the 200-metre butterfly. You'll be seeing these lads coming out now behind the blocks, and as Steve was saying just before we saw that A final, this is the chance for youngsters to step up. What a springboard, what a platform for them to swim personal best, to get in the eyes of the selectors, and actually to put themselves out there, rub shoulders with the likes of James Guy, to race against him in the heats. That's something for a 14, 15, 16-year-old.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Gunning and Tom Payne, admittedly towards the more senior end of the scale, but the rest of this final filled with teenagers, which is exactly what we like to see in these B finals. The best youths starting to make their way through. Adam Wilson certainly slots into that category in lane 7. Him and his mate Alfie Kelly, both at Newcastle, both very good pals. The two younger swimmers in this final. Capable of some good things as well. Do just keep an eye out on the outside lanes, especially in B finals. Sometimes you're going to have something unexpected. Joel Weston there from the city of Leicester rounds out the lineup in this B final. Confirmation once again of that start list. James Wilkes of Leatherhead was quickest in qualification. Can the likes of Gunning and Payne, or maybe someone from the outside, produce a win instead? Men's 200 fly, B final.
Tonight as well, the importance of not just recognising those wanting to go to the Commonwealth Games next year, but also the youngsters coming through the English ranks as well. And the Newcastle double in lanes 1 and 7, Alfie Kelly and Adam Wilson respectively, epitomising their British Summer Championships, managing to get gold and silver respectively in the 16-year-old category. And they are pitting themselves into the seniors now for the first time this week. Though, best start being made by Thomas Payne in lane 5 of City of Manchester Aquatics. The 23-year-old, very strong indeed. This time last year he claimed bronze in this event. Can he go further? Good start.
Yeah, really nice start this being made in lane number 5. Really, really nicely is Thomas Payne from City of Manchester Aquatics. 57.11 the turn at the 100. Wilkes a little bit further behind. He got a pretty slow start, Wilkes, but has recovered very, very well indeed. Craig Munden in the outside lane in lane 8 in third at the halfway point. He's going on pretty nicely. There we see a reminder of that British record held by Michael Rock. Thought for a few metres at least of that James Guy race that he might have been on for. He wasn't a million miles away, that's for sure. Tom Payne, though, going along very nicely in lane 5. Challenges are starting to come as the tiredness starts to set in for Payne. He's going to have to put himself through the Payne barrier in this final 25 metres or so. It's a big push in this race of all races, 200 fly, as they turn for home.
James Wilkes, the one who looks as if he's going to be the strongest competitor if anyone can topple Thomas Payne here, but it certainly looks a task that is easier said than done. Also floating around the top 3 positions right now is Loughborough's Craig Munden in lane 8, but down the centre, down the heart of the pool, Thomas Payne leading from the front right from the start. It's a tight squeeze towards the end, but enough for him to claim first in that B final. 2:02.05 the winning time. Wilkes in next, no surprise about that at all, with his time of 2:02.53. Craig Munden managing to lead the peloton home with a time of 2:04.2, but Thomas Payne out on top in the B final.
Well, a fantastic swim there from Thomas Payne. Lane 5, not the fastest qualifier from the heats this morning, but that often doesn't matter. 1:59.78 was his PB coming into this. He swam a 2:05 this morning, so very much took it easy, and often in tough endurance events you will see swimmers just taking it that little bit easy, more relaxed, and allowing themselves to hold something back before unleashing it tonight, and unleash it he did. He went out there from the gun. Quite a slow start, I thought, for James Wilkes. He was about a body length almost down on Thomas Payne, just from the 15 metres mark. But Wilkes coming through very nicely indeed. I'm pleased for Craig Munden. He went out really hard in the 400 free on day 1, and he paid for that, and he came through 8th or 9th in the end in that final. Now, 3rd here, really, really pleased to see the Loughborough University swimmer coming through. Women's 200 breaststroke then, up next.
I was going to say, we just take a look at this start list, and there's talent all over this field. Kiera Smith was quickest in the heats, and that's not bad going, considering you got Molly Renshaw in lane 5 next to her. Kiera Smith, a Canadian from HPC Ontario, one of our guests at this event this winter. Abby Wood, who had such a wonderful opening night in the 400 IM, is in lane 3 from Loughborough University. Keep an eye on the outside lanes. There's a couple of interesting ones. Katie Matz is part of the Next Big Thing group at Stockport Metro, along with Holly Hibbert and the like, and Hannah Miley in lane 7. Be interesting to see how she goes. She swam really nicely in the heats this morning, and good to see Hannah in lane 7 in this one. She's been experimenting around with her events this week, I think it's fair to say. She ran the 800 last night. Hannah Miley just loves swimming.
She's actually having a very busy meet here. She's popping up all over the place. I think she's swimming the 50 breaststroke too. All over the place. We can see them now coming out on to poolside. Now that consideration time to bear in mind, 2:25.15. Already qualified, Jocelyn Uliet. She's the British record holder with a 2:22.08 and British champion as well. And that performance earned her debut senior call-up for Worlds. Here, though, we've got Molly Renshaw, Olympic finalist, of course, at Rio 2016. She's the fastest domestic entry here, season's best of 2:22.96, and expect an almighty tussle between her and Kiera Smith. One of the battles to look forward to next year on the Gold Coast, as we see the Canadian swimmer just fine-tuning her preparation before Commonwealths after the first few months of training for the season. Yeah,
and I paid the Canadian team a little visit in the warm-up. They're all very friendly. They're all they're just delighted to be here. They're having a great time in Sheffield, which is lovely to see. Saw Kiera Smith, she looked so relaxed ahead of this race. She knows essentially for her nothing's particularly on the line, but what a chance for her to race against Molly Renshaw. I'm sure we'll see these two again on the Gold Coast going hammer and tong in this race, because it's Molly Renshaw, of course, already qualified in this race. She knows she doesn't necessarily have to worry about that, but she did swim a very quick time in the heats, so she might well go under the consideration time once again, which just shows you how she's expecting to go in terms of her progress throughout the year.
I am excited to see Abby Wood here as well. 2:26.02 her PB, that consideration time once again 2:25.15, but we know she's in form from that 400 medley swim on day 1. What can she do today? What will happen between Renshaw and Smith? Here it is, the women's 200-metre breaststroke.
Swimmers that we see in the pool here as well. It's going to be a very interesting battle between her and Molly Renshaw. Of course, this year Renshaw getting 6th at the World Championships. She got silver as well in this event at the British Championships, and this time last year she claimed gold. She'd love to finish 2017 up with that colour medal around her neck this time around as well. And as you'd suspect, it's the even start between those two in 4 and 5 as they make the turn after the first 50.
Yes, we are seeing Smith then of Ontario making this very much worth the trip over from Canada. 33.41 she turns in. Katie Matz up there as well. She's very much one to watch out for in this. She's one of the contenders for dipping under that consideration time. Just to remind you there, the British record, of course, Jocelyn Uliet. She's already qualified for the Commonwealth Games, already heading out to the Gold Coast next year. And we'll see today who exactly, if anyone, will be joining her and Molly Renshaw. Katie Matz, one of those in contention, as is Layla Black, Annabelle Guy-Johnson, who's actually swimming in the B final. And here, Abby Wood too, we know she's in form and she's touched in 3rd at the 100. Smith then in control at the halfway point, 109.9 at the 100. Molly Renshaw turns a few tenths behind, 110.14. Abby Wood, 110.83. All eyes then on those centre lanes.
It is a race that's currently being swam to form as well, you have to say, with the formation of the pool that's been taken up right now, and spearheading the charge is Kiera Smith of HPC Ontario. Down the middle of them, a split of 147.06, which is half a second on the dot, quicker than that of Molly Renshaw, who's got a bit of work to do here in order to reel Smith back in and get herself into first position. It does look as if right now that she will be the one, though, who will be the fastest English woman in this final.
Yeah, here we go then, the final 25, and this is all going Smith's way, but she has got Renshaw for company. Renshaw just on Smith's shoulder. I don't know if she can overhaul the Canadian, though, in the closing metres of this race. it is all about Kiera Smith coming up to the wall.
And in they come now. What is the time going to be? It's 2:24.09 for Kiera Smith. She is top of the whole pool. Molly Renshaw, the first of the English girls to come home on 2:24.71, which is inside that Commonwealth time, which of course is so important. And in third spot, Abby Wood of Loughborough, 2:26.72 her time as she leads the rest of the field home.
Well, what a race then. Certainly went as perhaps we expected, with the battle between Smith and Renshaw, both coming in on a 2:24. Disappointment perhaps for Abby Wood, 2:26.72, outside of that consideration time of 2:25.15.
Just the wrong side of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, it's tough for Abby Wood, but you know, she's got that time in the 400 iron that will fill her with plenty of confidence, and therefore it's a little bit of pressure off the shoulder. She doesn't have to worry too much. It's not necessarily do or die in this event. There goes Kiera Smith. They've been so impressive over the Canadians in general this week, and that's no different there. HBC Ontario swimmer Kiera Smith wins it 2:24.09. Mollie Renshaw still goes very, very quick, 2:24.71. Add Jocelyn Uliet to the mix in that, and that's one exciting final on the Gold Coast, isn't it?
And it's impressive to see the Canadians swimming so well here. They've come over in December, they've travelled, they've got fatigue from travelling, from jet lag, and they're out here winning.
Yeah.
They're certainly bringing it to the English.
And good to see the likes of Katie Matz up there as well. She's, as I mentioned before the start of the race, she's been along with Holly Hibbert, maybe the next big thing at Stockport Metro for a little while, and to see her competing at the top level here, she's in the national sense, she's third in that race. She'll be delighted with that. Hannah Miley in fourth. It's just so consistently good, Hannah Miley. Great to see she's still putting up very, very good numbers in a swimming sense. This is the B final start list, by the way. Lily Booker from City of Bristol looked nice tonight. Neve Robinson as well, going in lane 5.
Yeah, she is indeed. Annabelle Guy-Johnson, also touted as one to watch to potentially dip under that consideration time. Her PB, a 2:27.42. She swam 2:34.78 this morning in the heats. As we said, of course, don't take that at face value as an indication of form. Very often swimmers will come in just taking things that little bit easier in the heats, holding something back. Some swimmers, however, like to go out and make a statement of intent in the heats and go out for it.
Here comes Neve Robinson. Actually chatting to Neve's mum earlier, who was saying how pleased she was that Neve was doing well at this event. She had a bit of a rough year, but she's coming back really strong at the Nationals.
We promised our mum we wouldn't say that.
Well, we thought we'd give context. It's always nice to know. Neve's had to battle a lot with injury this year, and she's come back at Nationals. It's great to see her swimming so well.
I think she's rediscovered her love of swimming when she was told, you can't swim, you're injured, and actually she thought, I want to, I need to swim, and she realised then that this is something she wants to stick out and see how far she can take it. So we are pleased to see a swimmer like that coming through, especially at the age of 18 when so many girls are dropping out of sport.
Yeah, that's so true. And take a look at Amy Bell from the city of Sheffield, swimming in her home pool, of course, here in Ponds Forge. The big Team Steel contingent, they call themselves here. And Amy Bell, one of the youngsters in that group. And here come the two youngest, Amelia Monaghan there from the city of Peterborough. Not even out of school yet. And Tatiana Volonogov, just 16 at the start of this year. As you start list, it's the women's 200 meters breaststroke B final.
Lily Booker going in lane 4, the fastest senior swimmer from the heats this morning with a time of 2:34.27. And she took gold in the 16-year age category at the British Summer Championships this year as well here at Ponds Forge. She's one of those many swimmers, particularly that we're seeing in the B final over the course of the week, making the step up from the junior categories and pitting their wits against those in the seniors. And you have to say, a vast majority of them haven't looked out of place at all, but currently leading the way, Corrie Scott of Edinburgh University in lane 3. She is the one to beat in the early stages after the first quarter.
Yes, Scott touching then, 33.80 at the 50. Grace Gilroy just behind her, Loughborough University student, 34.2. And then Amy Bell going well in lane 8, 34.48 over the first 50. And Stephen, you were saying just before about swimmers here still in school. I saw girls out there doing their homework before competing tonight in the finals, and they're doing exams, GCSEs, A-levels, while competing internationally. Truly impressive how they balance all this up. Scott then still in control, 1:11.41. Grace Gilroy still in lane 2 in second place, 1:12.65. And Amy Bell up there as well, 1:12.69. Bell's PB coming into this at 2:28.40. So perhaps she left something in the locker this morning in the heats.
Yeah, it absolutely seems the case right now. And you can just see that in front, Corrie Scott still the one reigning supreme. Just to her right-hand side, here's Grace Gilroy of Loughborough University. Then you have to look to the far side for Amy Bell in lane 8, whose PB is 2:28.4, which is not bad at all. It's the season's best also over the course of the last 12 months. Can she pull that out of the bag in the final competitive swim of 2017? It's going to take something special right now to stop Corrie Scott of Edinburgh University, who's gone out there with purpose and hasn't let up at all, but you could just see creeping up over her shoulder is Grace Gilroy in lane 2 from Loughborough. Is this too late of an assault right now? In 4 as well, trying to bustle her way to the front is Lily Booker of City of Bristol. But as they come in towards the wall, it is Corrie Scott that manages to get the first touch in lane 3. The time 2:32.3. In second spot is Grace Gilroy of Loughborough University, with Amy Bell in third spot, 0.22 seconds out of Lily Booker. A late resurgence from her on the back 50, not enough to get in the top 3. Top 1 boasted by Corrie Scott.
Really nicely done from Corrie Scott then in that B final, just touching out Grace Gilroy. Amy Bell, really fine swim from the youngster from the city of Sheffield. She's very, very used to swimming here at Ponds Forge, and she'll be really pleased to pick up that result in the B final.
Fantastic racing there, really impressive stuff from the girls. It's always interesting in B finals to see exactly who has held back in the heats. Corrie Scott then with time at 2:30.23. Grace Gilroy in second, Amy Bell 2:31.66. in third from lane 8. So clearly she paced the heats this morning very well indeed.
Yeah, terrific swim from Amy Bell in particular. Our next event is a far quicker pace, shall we say. We've opened it up with a slightly steadier pace with a couple of 200 races in the fly and the breaststroke. This is about to get a whole lot quicker because we have the men's 50 meters backstroke to come. After that, we've got the women's 50 fly as well. So the pace is certainly set to pick up here in Ponds Forge. 50 backstroke is an event which doesn't automatically have a consideration time set by Swim England, but there's, make no mistake about it here, impress in this event and you might have a chance.
It is an event at the Commonwealth Games, not an Olympic event, but at the Worlds and the Commonwealths as well. So certainly, if they can see a medal potential here, they're going to give them a go. Luke Greenbank in there, we saw him narrowly miss out in the 100-metre backstroke. He won the event, but he was a couple of tenths outside the consideration time, along with Chris Walker-Hebben, who had some real disappointment here on day 1 in the 100 backstroke. Luke Greenbank already qualified and on the way to the Gold Coast in the 200-metre backstroke. Now just trying his hand at the shorter distance. But the quickest man in, Nicholas Pyle from Newcastle Swim Team, 25.68. That is both his PB, his season best, and the time he set this morning in the heats as well. Yeah,
he's looking really, really good indeed. Obviously, the British record is held by the one and only Liam Tancock, who made this event his own for so many years. But Nick Pyle might well be the next big thing. He's only set to turn 17, I make it, in about 5 days' time. He's one of the youngsters, and he's superb as well. He swam up a year at the Summer Championships this year, so in the 17-18 years category, took the gold in the 50 backstroke. He won the gold the year before in the 16 years category, and the gold the year before that in the... He's consistently good, is what I'm trying to say, in this 50-metre backstroke. There he is, the man from Newcastle, coached by Ryan Livingstone. He holds some junior records in this event, and he's swimming very, very quickly indeed. As Laura mentioned, PB in the heats this morning, 25.68. A little way ahead of everyone else.
Do you know, it's difficult when you've got the likes of someone like Liam Tancott, like Rebecca Adlington, those real stalwarts of the team. I mean, we're looking at Liam Tancott's time here, his record, 24.02. The fastest time here is 25.68. They've got massive shoes to fill, but I bet that's actually quite a challenge. It's quite exciting for these guys.
Absolutely, that British record has stood for quite a long while as well from Liam Tancott. Set it in 2009 at the World Championships in Rome. Really, really fast time. I'm not going to say Nicholas Pyle's going to get near it tonight. That's maybe a little bit too much pressure on his shoulders, but he could be the next Liam Tancott. This is what this event's all about. Here we go. Men's 50 metres. Backstroke final.
Take your marks.
And away we go. Nicholas Pyle's PB this morning of 25.68, seen him situated in the fastest lane in 4, but it's a great start next to him here in lane 5 from Daniel Cross of Loughborough University. Very sharp stuff from him right now. He's got a nose in front of Nicholas Pyle. Those are your favourites, of course, coming into this one. A real battle going in towards the wall. Will anyone join the argument as we look at 4 and 5? It is Daniel Cross getting there. 25.54, the winning time from Daniel Cross of Loughborough University. An unconfirmed PB for him there. Newcastle's Nicholas Pyle then managing to get himself into second spot, and it's James Oxborough of Loughborough University making a Loughborough 1-3. His time 25.86.
Oh, goodness me, Daniel Cross, our studio is situated above the finish of these 50s. He was right on that lane rope. He was almost touching it, in fact, right on it. I thought that was going to hamper him coming into the wall there, but it did not. 25.54 then for Daniel Cross, touching out Pyle. 25.62 for the Newcastle man. Oxborough 25.86 to take third.
It's so impressive as well. We talked about Nick Pyle having a wonderful morning. He's gone and swam another PB in the final. Sometimes you can only do what you can do as a swimmer. It's out of his control how well Daniel Cross has swum there. To take so much time off his PB in a 50 is genuinely impressive. It's not easy to do. We sometimes talk about the fine margins in swimming. In 50 metres, those margins could not be more pronounced. So little can make such a big difference. To take a massive chunk out of a PB on a 50 is no mean feat. So congratulations to Daniel Cross from Loughborough University, 25.54. That's best part of half a second.
That's impressive over a 50 metre to take out, well, 4/10 from a PB. Very impressive indeed. That's the kind of PBs you expect junior swimmers to be doing, and it's certainly not university students, so very impressive indeed from Daniel Cross. Nicholas Pyle couldn't do anything about that. PB again for him though.
Yeah, and a great swim from Cross's teammate as well, James Oxborough. He gets himself a PB, so good to see our swimmers performing at their best at these championships. Not always easy to do, of course. This is essentially an out-of-season meet, don't forget. This is usually the event where swimmers take a look at how their winter block of training has gone and really get a feel for how they're going to perform in the next calendar year. This is the sort of final blowout before a couple of weeks off eating turkey over Christmas. Not so much this event. It's, yes, those swimmers who are chasing times and Commonwealth times, they obviously have to peak at this event, but even those who are not expecting to, they seem to be doing pretty well as well.
To put it into context, the Winter Championships are actually usually a short course event, so we're holding this over a 50-metre Olympic distance pool. Normally, the boom's in, and it's 25-metre, bit of splash and dash, bit of short course fun, just a little sharpener before Christmas. The stakes very much higher here. We've got people chasing Commonwealth consideration times, looking to get out to the Gold Coast next year. And the juniors, well, what an experience for them to be able to race under those sort of conditions, that sort of pressure.
Yeah, for some swimmers, this will be their first ever champs nationally. And we've had the chance to speak to a lot of parents and coaches and some swimmers themselves. They make their way past us in our studio before we go on air. And so many parents saying to us who are maybe mums and dads of real youngsters at this event, how amazing it is, how big the scale of it is. They've never seen anything like this as parents of these young swimmers, and it really is wonderful to see.
They're very much much here for experience. Those young kids who perhaps are at their first nationals, their second nationals, it's all about experience, trying new things, seeing what works, and racing your heart out when you're a junior, racing in the pool and racing at a meet like this. It's so easy to get actually weighed down by that pressure and blown away by it. But juniors here very much stepping up. We're seeing some stunning swims and more to come, I'd imagine, in this, the men's 50-metre backstroke B final.
Take your marks.
Well, Jack Shillinglaw in 4 from Ellesmere College Titans, 26.93, the swim of his life this morning. It may take something similar in order to topple the rest of the pool in this B final as well as they crash towards the final 10 metres. It's just one straight line right now. Who's going to make the last-ditch break and get the fingers on the wall first? And your answer is Callum Barrett in lane 2 from Loughborough University. The winning time of 26.85, 300ths of a second quicker than that of Filipos Jakovidis of Bath University. It's Alistair Wright of Newcastle completing the fastest trio, but it's Callum Barrett of Loughborough overall taking the B final.
Yeah, fine swim there from Callum Barrett of Loughborough University. And someone who knows a thing or two about Loughborough is with me in the studio. Roberto Pavoni, I'm delighted to say, is joining us as we take a little look at those confirmed results. Roberto, lovely to have you here with us. This is a bit of a strange event for you, I know, because you've made the transition from swimmer to coach very, very recently. First of all, hello and welcome, and how's that all going for you?
It's going really well, thanks. It's actually quite difficult coming back here and being part of all this, and it actually makes me want to be getting back in the water and trying to make that team myself. Seeing all the hype about making the team and the qualification times is difficult for me, but I also appreciate that it takes a lot of training to get there, and I think that I'm past that stage now, so I'm happy with what I'm doing coaching-wise.
Yeah, you can't quite have the best of both worlds. Hey, how are you enjoying things down at Plymouth Leander? That's where you've ended up, but down on the south coast. You enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been brilliant. I mean, I'm working for Plymouth College now, which is a great independent school down there, and we've got a boarding facility for some of the top swimmers in the country and also in the world. We've got some overseas swimmers coming there, and they're all part of Plymouth Leander, and we train and race as Plymouth Leander, and they're doing really well. We've got a great group of kids here training and racing really hard.
And they've done all right this week as well. We saw you guys in the relay last night. That was the loudest group of mums, dads and coaches we've seen so far at this meet. That was a pretty special moment, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was. It was great for the whole club as a whole, just to see our top swimmers, the older ones, basically setting the example. And our head coach Robin Armayan has been working really hard with those guys. And the team as a whole, just trying to get the concept of, you know, one for all and all for one. And setting the bar really high from the open age group is great, and it inspires our younger ones to come through.
Absolutely, and you're in a wonderful position to do that, of course, having only recently retired from swimming and former Olympian, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can pass on to these young kids. Do you find that strange initially to try and do that, or has it been something that's been pretty seamless for you?
In ways it's strange, in ways it's just natural, because I just try and teach them things that A, I've learned myself as a swimmer, and B, things that I try to practice every single day. So it is second nature in some respects. I mean, some of the stuff, you know, I did for 15 years every single day. So it's in me, I breathe it, I live it, and I try and set examples by being professional in my mannerisms around coaching as well, the same as I would have done in the pool.
Absolutely. We just take a look at some of our medalists from the men's 50-metre backstroke from earlier on today. This is an event you've been at for so many years as a swimmer. Me and Laura have been talking a little bit on the broadcast about what it's like for the junior swimmers to swim up against the top guys like James Guy tonight, for example. you've been in both positions. How is it for the young swimmers to come here for a young nationals? Not just from yourself, who've been there before, but seeing your young guys now as a coach who have probably a bag full of nerves heading into these races.
Yeah, so I'm actually in that exact position now because my group are 13 to 16-year-olds, so it's very tough for them to make finals here. They've got to step up to be the top 20 in any age group in the country. It's really difficult for them to do that, so I'm just trying to teach them to perform their best in the heats, which is something that is written into all of the textbooks about going to big international competitions. You've got to swim well in the heats. And then the second thing, they're coming back and they're watching their teammates tonight, supporting the team, but also trying to learn from those older swimmers. And I do remember doing that here at Breaststroke when I was 15 years old at the British Champs. I didn't make any finals. My dad and I sat up there in the stands and watched the finals, watched the people like Michael Rocket at the time. I was trying to be a 200 flyer and I was watching him. And it still feels like yesterday, so I'm just trying to instill that into the kids today, try and get them to pick up one thing from their heroes or from people that they're watching racing and try and take that into their own racing.
And it was just take a look at James Guy receiving his medal there in the 200 fly. He's already booked a ticket out to the Commonwealths later on in 2018. That's an event I know you're very familiar with. What's so special about the Commonwealth Games? Because it's very different, I know. Yeah,
it's really different, and it's a great time for Brits as a whole because we get to go and race for our home nations, and you know, racing under a different flag is different, and there's a lot of rivalry, especially between England and Scotland. But it's all great fun, and we're all, at the end of the day, we all come back together and race as teammates again the following year. But it's just a different experience, and you get generally you get some younger swimmers on the team because the qualification standards are that slightly bit easier.
Well, when you divide them in four, you've got that little bit more chance, haven't you?
So you've got a few more places up for grabs, and again, that's a great opportunity, and it's one of the first experiences I had as an international swimmer. It just gives those younger swimmers another chance to step up on a big stage before they hit the really big stage of World Champs and Olympics the following years. And
you've got Plymouth swimmer out there, well, who will be out there later on, Ben Proud. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about him, because the bloke is at times a joke. He is so big and so strong, and he powers through that 50 freestyle like few people we've ever seen on this sort of level. What makes him such a special freestyler?
Well, he's very methodical in his training and his racing. He's always doing the right thing. He's someone who's a great example of what to do in and out of the pool. Because notoriously sprinters, they obviously don't do as much in the pool as longer distance swimmers, but outside the water...
Don't try to say that with too much resentment in your voice, eh?
Oh, I was jealous for many years. I wish I could have sprinted, believe me. But yeah, outside of the pool, he was unbelievable. Doing his pre-pool, his stretching and his gym work was realistically, not many people could replicate that in the world, and that's why he's reached such levels that he has now. It's great to see him at those levels because he's a genuinely great guy, and he's always out for everyone's best interest. He's never just in it for himself, so it's great to see him doing really well.
Yeah, no doubt helps the youngsters at the club as well. Let's just take a look at the medalists from the 200 metres breaststroke. The Canadian Kiera Smith winning that one ahead of the British interest in Molly Renshaw. And just before we let you go, Roberto, we want to talk to you a little bit about the 400 IM, an event I know you used to love back in the day. We saw that last night. We saw Joe Litchfield go pretty close. We've already got Max Litchfield booked on the plane for that event. That's an event that the mantle has to be passed at some point, but it's in pretty good hands.
Yeah, Max has done a great job over the last couple of years, and we raced the last few years in my career, and he was always a tough competitor, and he's another one who trains 100% all the time. It's a shame right now to see him injured at the moment. You know, he's out of the pool, but he's working really hard to get back in and be back in shape before Commonwealth Games. His brother's doing a great job of taking up the mantle for that, and I know one day he's going to be down there too, because he also is just like his brother. He trains really hard, very dedicated. And I know Ross Barber and Dan Cockin at Sheffield are doing a great job with those lads.
Yeah, great to hear. As we see the gold medals being presented to both the Brits and also our commemorative gold to the Canadian as well. Roberto, we're going to let you get off. Thank you ever so much for joining us here this evening. So there we go. The swimmers depart the medal rostrum. And really interesting there, Laura, to hear from Roberto Pavoni, who's been there and done it as a swimmer. He's done the lot. He's now a coach. He's a coach at a very, very respectable club in Plymouth Leander who are doing some amazing things. He's got one of the most unique perspectives on swimming around at the moment. It's really interesting to hear what he's saying about the next generation of our swimmers.
It's always interesting to see former swimmers go into coaching. You've also got the likes of Mel Marshall, who's done it, Ewan Dale, who's also done it. Mel Marshall, of course, coaching Adam Peaty, which is something.
Yeah, she's here this week as well, coaching her other swimmers.
She is here this week.
The woman doesn't stop.
No, she does not. She is on a mission, that's for sure, and she's hoping to get some more swimmers out to the Gold Coast as well. There's our schedule for what's to come, but it is interesting to see former swimmers giving back to the sport at that younger age group, the grassroots, and then developing the next generation. It's fascinating, but also Roberto, I know he probably said to you in the studio, he said to us before we spoke as well that actually he really misses racing, but he does not miss training. And that says quite a lot, that swimming just eventually wears you out, it wears you down, and it's tough. It's seriously, seriously tough. But that racing element, that feeling of winning, the high you get from that, that is second to none. And that's something that we know sports people as a whole struggle with when they retire, is finding something that will match that. And often there's nothing like it.
Absolutely, and interesting actually. This event next, the 50 fly, Roberto alluded he'd have loved to have swum the 50-metre events because it meant he could take a little bit of a breather in terms of miles logged in the pool.
I can absolutely vouch for that. As a regional club distance swimmer, I was there doing 10 400s on pace, and the sprinters were doing 10 25s. Outrageous. It's
not the same, is it, Laura? It's just not the same. Here we take a look at the A final for the 50 fly. Good field, this one. Really looking forward to see it. This is Rebecca Smith from HPC Ontario. She's been impressive. Rachel Kelly from Loughborough Uni is very, very talented over 50 metres on the fly as well. And keep an eye on Laura Stevens from Plymouth Leander. We were speaking to Roberto off air about the qualities of Laura in this race, and they're really excited to see her go. And the Plymouth Leander lot, as we alluded to a couple of times, they're well represented here, despite the journey all the way up from Devon or Cornwall. Don't want to step into that debate, but despite the big journey up from the southwest, they're so well represented and really get behind their swimmers.
Vociferous, we'll say. They're pretty vocal, aren't they? We know when they're swimming, put it that way. But here it is then, the women's 50-metre butterfly final.
As well. Quite a few PBs to topple over this short distance. This morning, the quickest qualifier, Rachel Kelly in lane 4 from Loughborough University, 26.94. It's around half a second off a PB. Currently, though, it's Rebecca Smith of HPC Ontario. Once again, the Canadians trying to spoil the party, and they do so as well. 26.61, the winning time for Rebecca Smith. Another medal under the belt of the HPC Ontario team. Rachel Kelly gets second spot for Loughborough, and Jasmine McRae of Poole completes the fastest trio.
Well, another win then for the Canadians coming over. Rebecca Smith taking that one, 26.61. Rachel Kelly in second, and we were talking, Steve, about former swimmers, former elite international swimmers going into coaching. And here's another, James Gibson, coaching at Loughborough University. He was a swimmer at Loughborough University and, of course, a very fine breaststroke, and now giving back to the sport as well, and here coaching Rachel Kelly.
Yeah, and Rachel Kelly's had a really successful year as well. 26.89 is by no means a bad time. Rebecca Smith, the Canadians have really sent their best, which I think is a good thing, without question. We noted in the highlights from yesterday in that there's been an international flavour, but a real stellar competition as well. And there's no question about that. The Canadians in particular are giving the British swimmers here a real test. And I know for a fact that the Canadians are grateful for that, but also the Brits are grateful for that. Yes, it's essentially their party, but the competitiveness is something that's so important.
Well, the English cannot be complacent going into the Gold Coast. They cannot think they've got any race sewn up, and the Canadians are very much here to remind all of our English talents that actually and the challenge could come from just about anywhere, not least the Australians who've not made the trip over here to the National Winter Championships, but they're going to be
It's really hot in Australia at the minute, you can't blame them.
I know, who would come over here? If you live in Australia and you've got summer at the moment. But they are going to be on fire on home water, and that's going to be really exciting to see.
Yeah, we're all really excited for the Commonwealth Games. That's absolutely undisputed. And speaking to the swimmers, speaking to Roberto just there, swimmers really look forward to the Commonwealth Games. Yes, it's not the ultimate in international competition because a lot of nations by default don't attend, but it's a very different style of international competition. And I know that's something a lot of swimmers really, really do appreciate. This should be an interesting race, by the way, the 50 fly B final. Just seeing the athletes introduced there. Alicia Wilson was quickest earlier on for Guildford. Keep an eye on Kira Schlossen as well. She's been making moves in the last few years at the City of Leeds. The youngster is very talented over this distance. It's the 50 fly B final.
Well, you mentioned Kira Schlossen there, Steve, in lane 5. Season's best for her this morning of 28.13, and the first to raise a yellow cap out of the water as well. Locking horns this time around with Alicia Wilson in lane 4 from Guildford City. So many exciting youngsters on the English circuit right now. Take it to the pool. Brianna Close in lane 8 from Loughborough University is not putting in a bad shift either. Her and Kira Schlossen towards the wall. Kira Schlossen first, 27.56 the time. Alicia Wilson just wedging herself in between the lead swimmer and Brianna Close, who's pushed down into third spot. But it is Kira Schlossen of Sea Leeds taking it, 27.56, and a PB for her as well. The first time she's gone under 28 seconds, and she's done it pretty emphatically.
Well, we said we would see these younger swimmers shaving time off their PBs, but you don't expect to see almost half a second go over a 50. Kira Schlossen is in some form. She's certainly been one to watch for the last few years, and now she's beginning to step it up.
Yeah, really phenomenal swim. I hate to be that guy, but I did say watch out for at the start of this race. 27.56, though, is something that I'm not sure even she would have been expecting. 28.13, her previous season's best.
You could see her face. The season best, actually, she set this morning in the heats. You could see her face then when she touched. She looked up and saw herself on the screen firstly, but saw the time as well, and was shocked. Big smile on her face there to go sub 28 and to do it at a meet like this. Very impressive indeed.
And not just sub 28, 27.5. It's a absolutely humongous drop for Kira Schlossen. Still just 16 years of age. Big things expected from the City of Leeds swimmer. Now, this is an event, Laura, I know you're really looking forward to, because we're not quite sure what really happened in the heats this morning, but a lot of sprinters here got really spread out. I think a few heats were quite slow, one was quite quick, and all of a sudden, we've got some slight surprises in the final here. The likes of David Cumberledge in lane 0.
He won the British Summer Championships in 49.79, but he's coming into this in lane 0 on a 50.81. But the length of time that actually separates these 10 swimmers is minuscule. This is going to be such a tight final, and honestly, we always say it as commentators, as broadcasters, that, oh, well, anyone can win from anywhere. Genuinely, I think anyone can win from anywhere in this final. It is going to be stunning. The consideration time for the Commonwealth Games, we always keep those in mind. 48.93. Now, no English entries are within half a second of that qualifying time, so I'm not sure whether we're going to see that today. What we are going to see is competition at its very fiercest for, of course, the 4x100 metre freestyle relay selection.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. Elliot Clogg in lane 4 from Loughborough University, coached by Mel Marshall, who we were speaking about earlier. One of the best coaches in the country, frequently rewarded for her craft. She really has taken to coaching like a duck to water. It's Martin Walton there from the University of Stirling. Alex Ray in lane 6. A lot of Loughborough represented in this race, which is not a huge surprise. They've got a very, very good bank of swimmers. Cameron Curl, by the way, won the 200 last night, only in lane 2 for the 100. He is a very dangerous threat. And Nick Granger, lane 7, could be a complete misnomer. He is very, very quick. As soon as you give him a freestyle, he is rapid. The shorter, the better it tends to be with Nick Granger. Very good over 200, but he does like the 100 as well, especially in his home pool.
Worth noting, Callum Jarvis, he is about to be announced to the crowd, I believe, or I think he just has been. His PB is 48.79. He is Welsh, but he was the fastest entry coming into this, so not on the lookout for Team England, Swim England, Commonwealth selection, but certainly one to watch here for potentially taking the win. Again, it really could come from anywhere. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, Callum Jarvis actually took a Commonwealth gold, bronze medal rather, in the last Commonwealth Games, 2014, took the bronze in the 200. So worth keeping an eye out on a freestyle, but that really could be in any order. This should be a competitive race, and it's one of those where you just keep an eye on absolutely every lane. Good luck, Jonathan. It's the men's 100-metre freestyle.
No one likes to be perched on top of a fence, but this one definitely is a lottery. All these swimmers in contention. And of course, 48.93, the Commonwealth qualification time, will be in the back of quite a few of these swimmers' minds as well. The only swimmer ever be able to get that sort of time, Callum Jarvis, in lane 1 from Bath. And that just goes to show you just how tight a playing field this is going to be. And in lane 0, David Cumberledge, the one to early take this one by the horns. In 4, Elliot Clogg, quickest qualifier this morning, the Loughborough swimmer, with a time of 50.09. That was just 0.07 of a second away from his PB. He's been roped in here by those either side of him as they embark on the wall. Is there a late burst in 9 from Jarvis Parkinson? In they come, and it's an even split between your outside smokers, and that just goes to show how tight a field that was going to be. Not just one on the outside managing to spring a shock, both of them able to do so as well. Parkinson in lane 9 and Cumberledge in 0, both tied on 49.81. In 3rd spot is Elliot Clogg of Loughborough, just the wrong side of 50 seconds. Well, how about that for a swim from Parkinson and Cumberledge, both tied at the top.
Well, where do you start with that one?
Oh boy, we knew it was going to be close. We were getting so excited up here in the studio because you look down on the pool and you see one line, then you look closer at the screen to see them coming in, and I could not pick it, and suddenly Jarvis Parkinson absolutely flew at the wall. The 2 outside lanes, as we did predict, both got it, and a joint equal first as well.
I mean, that's one of the craziest races I've actually seen in Ponds Forge, and I've seen a lot of races in this pool. It was so even right the way across from lane 0 to 9, quite literally ultimately in the end, and an honestly remarkable result. Tied first, 49.81 for Parkinson and Cumberledge. Elliot Clogg, by the way, picking up a very respectable 50.06, only just outside his personal and indeed season's best.
Less than a second separated those 10 swimmers. Less than a second.
There you go.
0.25 separating the podium.
Absolutely remarkable. Great swims from Jarvis Parkinson and David Cumberledge. As we alluded to before this race, it was very unlikely they were really going to push those Commonwealth qualification standards, but they still gave us some wonderful entertainment. This is the start list for the B final. A couple of Belgians join us in this one, the Borisavljevic brothers, Alexis and Valentin, giving the likes of Tom Kingham and Rhys Dunn and Louis Barker, Federico Bediso, William Cole, Carl Chiss and Thomas Flower. Something to think about. Someone they wouldn't have swam against before, perhaps.
Worth noting from that A final, though, that the selection for the relays is going to be near impossible. They have well and truly battled it out there for selection. That was for bragging rights and for the chance to swim in that relay as well next year. So that is going to be a fascinating selection as the team emerges in the coming weeks. But now the chance, of course, for some of the juniors to step it up here. Some of those who've made the B final to just perhaps throw their names into the mix as well, because you look at these PBs and you've still got guys who are coming in on PBs of 49.6, 49.7, which, you know, perhaps would have won.
Yeah, remarkable. Really, really quick standing in the 100 free at the moment, and it should be a really, really good race, this. There's one of the Belgians, Valentin Borisavljevic. And we mentioned how the Canadian swimmers have really given our swimmers something to think about, the top ones at least. You know, we've seen the top Canadians go against the top English swimmers, and it's been some brilliant competition. The likes of Valentina and Alexis here aren't necessarily going to be at the top of the game, but a chance for these younger swimmers maybe to maybe compete against an international swim, which they don't always get the chance to do so.
To experience international competition as well. It is invaluable experience. Here it is then, the B final of the men's 100-metre freestyle.
And away we go. The precedent set, certainly in that A final. It would be amazing if anyone in this B final could match that sort of entertainment that we saw a few moments ago. An early burst being taken down the centre from Federico Bediso, one of the standout young performers over the course of the week so far, the Mount Kelly swimmer at 16 years of age. A PB for him this morning as well to get him seated in this lane of 50.94, and he looks as if he's carrying on from where he took off this morning. A length lead at the moment. You can just see on the near side as well in lane 1, that's Valentin Borisavljevic of Belgium, and he is the nearest competitor towards that front three. In fact, he's very close with the rest of the peloton as they come in towards the wall now. Federico Bediso is the man on top, the only one to get under 50 seconds as well. 49.97 sees him get a new PB, almost a whole second better than the PB he got this morning. In second spot from L'Aqua is Alexis Borisavljevic, and Thomas Kingham in third from Loughborough.
Another great race, and talk about swimming quick. Federico Bediso, 49.97, dipping below 50 seconds, is the man from Mount Kelly. That is a really fine swim. First time he's ever been under the 50-second barrier. His previous best, by the way, 50.5. Another huge drop in a short race.
Then he finished third in the A final as well. So a really impressive performance there, and a win by over half a second over 100. That's pretty dominant.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's difficult to tell because the result system for this, the junior and the senior medals, quite convoluted, but Federico Bediso there might actually work his way into a medal shout there. Don't necessarily see all 3 medals in the senior category or the junior category come from each final. It's a little bit of a grey area in that sense, but Federico Bediso has given himself every shot. 49.97, heck of a time.
Very impressive swimming. I still can't quite get over that A file of the 100 freestyle. Stunning swims there across the pool, lane 0 to lane 10, and it says something that the joint win came from lane 0 and lane 9. Yeah,
it really does. And good to see the Belgians there giving the likes of Tom Kingham and Federico Bediso a push every single step of the way. The Borisavljevic brothers, Alexis and Valentin, going very, very nicely indeed. Stiff international competition is always appreciated, I know. Medal ceremonies coming up very, very shortly. As you can see, our swimmers anxiously waiting to make their way onto the rostrum here.
It's always a lovely moment to be honoured and to get onto that podium. I can tell you it hurts when you are 4th, and certainly when you're coming through the ranks as a junior swimmer in perhaps county or western counties. In the younger age groups, the youngest age groups, they gave medals for the top 8. And if you're 4th, you're standing next to the podium and not on it. And that really, really hurts. So I'm sure inspiration, though, for future years to make sure that you're that one step higher.
And our swimmers eventually make their way up onto the podium.
If you are just joining us, you have missed some stunning action so far. We saw James Guy and Jacob Peters both dip under the consideration time for the Commonwealth Games in the men's 200 fly, the first final up this evening. James Guy clocking a 1:56.66, but he was after the British record by all accounts, so interesting to see that he wasn't quite there. He looked like he was on it, but certainly within the last 10-15 metres or so, he began to tire. Jacob Peters, 1:57.16 for him. He also dipped under that consideration time, so 2 up for selection then. And then, of course, we have the 200-metre breaststroke. Molly Renshaw and Jocelyn Uliet already qualified and on the way to the Gold Coast. Uliet, the British record holder, in 2:22.08, and Molly Renshaw, Olympic finalist in Rio 2016. Abby Wood just outside that consideration time of 2:25.15. She clocked a 2:26.72, but a stunning swim for her in the 400-metre individual medley. So she has put herself in the mix for selection.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it one more time for your medal winner.
And delighted to be joined here in the studio. We're just frantically changing microphones, but delighted to be joined by James Guy. We're just getting him mic'd up and ready. Steve's just jumping out. And we have James Guy here in the studio with us. Here he is now, James. Congratulations, a stunning 200 fly. Is it true, the rumours, that we were all talking up here, you were going for that British record of Michael Rocks?
Yeah, I suppose I was really. I was looking to try and go on that 1:55 barrier, but
yeah.
I think the first half of the race was pretty good. The third length was great, and then I could feel the kind of the pain coming and coming and coming. So yeah, it did hurt, but good time for the start of the year.
I did say up here, because we've got such a good view from here down below, and you could just see
it was painful.
It looked well. The 200 flight always looks painful.
It's never easy.
It's not, but you could just see your arms starting. It was as though you were swimming through treacle, and you know it hurts.
It does hurt, yeah.
It does hurt.
But no, I think at the end of the day, I got the qualifying time, which is what I needed to do, and I was 2 seconds under, so it's a nice building barrier towards April, and to have the real showdown there.
And you weren't, I mean, here your focus was the 200 fly, but it wasn't just about that for you at the Commonwealths. You've got the 100 fly, the 200 free, and the 400 free as well. You're going to be busy.
Yeah, I'm thinking of racing every day, heat final, so, I mean, it's all part of training. That's why we do it every day, 10 sessions a week, and that's what you're building for every time.
And your aims for the Commonwealth Games, have you already set them out in stone, what you want to achieve? Is it too early?
A little bit. I mean, I've got 4 individuals and 3 relays, so hopefully I can try and make a medal in every single one, which would be pretty impressive, so that's the goal.
Well, that will be very impressive indeed. Of course, here at the National Winter Championships, we are seeing junior swimmers take that step up as well. What are your memories of racing as a junior at national meets like this?
Honestly, I remember being an age grouper and doing your national age groups and British Summer Championships. It's all changed now. I mean, but for me, it was that big meet every year where you can step up and try and race to get the best guys in Britain for that national title. And it's the one thing I remember looking forward to every year and see who the best in Britain was, and how things changed from being an age grouper to national youth champion to making your European junior teams, your world juniors, and going to senior stage, making your world championship teams. So it's a nice stepping stone, and next you know, it's the Olympic Games and you get a medal, so it's a nice stone. And
Jacob Peters was on your shoulder in that final as well. He came back at you over the final 25. 1:57.16 he clocked, so also within the consideration time. I mean, what a chance for him.
I mean, fair play to him. It was a great swim for him, big PB, so yeah, he'll be on my tail a bit now from on that 200 fly, but you know what, it was a great swim by him and myself, and we got the job done. We qualified now and on the plane to the Gold Coast in April time.
And talk to me about Christmas now. What do you guys do? Do you take a step back? Do you have a few days out, a week out? What's the deal with the rest and the rest period now?
For most people in the world now, it's kind of an end of a cycle. So what will happen is we'll have a few days off, a bit of rest, and eat as much food as you can. Just enjoy yourself as you do over Christmas time. And it's nice to have a bit of a break from the pool. And then once January comes back in, we're on it again, and that's it then. No more holding back, and it's all streams ahead.
Then it's just the 3.5 months to go until
it really is. I mean, but now, yeah, as you said, I think we're back in Monday afternoon, and then a couple of days hard, Christmas Day off, and then Boxing Day we're back in the water for a bit, then New Year's off as well. Then it's all seems ahead.
It's pretty relentless, isn't it? And then before you know it, Tokyo will be here.
I know, it's weird to think now that almost years ago Rio was over and it was there, so how times have changed, and Tokyo will be 24 years old, so it's times are flying ahead.
And of course for you, double Olympic silver medalist as well in Rio, so fond memories I'm sure of those games.
It was a massive learning curve for me. I never expected Rio to be how it would be. It's like a big event with a load of media around it, and for me it's a massive learning curve, and every time I'm racing now at a big competition, you can see that you've got to learn, and you're learning new things every single time, and that's the most important thing.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to you. As you can see on the screen, we've got the 4x200 freestyle relay coming up. I'm sure you're pretty good at this. Any tips for the ladies about to dive in?
Tips for the ladies, for me, what I do on the 4x2 is just not go out too hard, because that's where you can really hit the back end, as you saw on my last 200 fly. So, but I remember in Budapest, and I saw the Russian beside me and the American on the corner. Just think, stick to the plan and come back as fast as you can, and we got the goal. Absolutely.
Now, James, that was your only swim of the meet. So for you, I guess it's back to the pool. Or a weekend off for you?
Weekend off for me. Bit of pizza tonight, curry tomorrow.
Is that the meal of choice for you?
That's the meal of choice for me. Nice Domino's pizza, and then back in the pool Monday night.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to you, James Guy. Stick with us. We will have that 4x200 freestyle relay coming up. And then after that, we have the 1500 metre freestyle as well.
Now we've Tom Derbyshire.
Oh, there we go. A tip for you, Tom Derbyshire. Now, we have not won a medal at the Commonwealth Games in that event since, I'm just looking through my notes here, 1938, which was Bob Lever's when the event was swam over 1650 yards.
Wow.
So a long time indeed that we've not actually medalled at the Commonwealth Games in that event. So Tom Derbyshire, Jay Elliott and Toby Robinson all in with a shout here to dip under that consideration time, and we will have that 1500 metre coming up for you very soon. As you can hear behind us though, we do have the 4x200 freestyle relay coming up. The ladies now coming out onto poolside. We're just getting Steve back in the studio then as we see Nova Centurion, City of Peterborough and Wandsworth all lining up here in the women's 4x200 freestyle relay.
And away we go then, just the three teams taking to the pool for this final. The all-lock turns, or should I say, earlier on today, with City of Peterborough comfortably coming out on top. 8:46, 8:4 their time. Almost 14 seconds quicker than Wandsworth, who were next into the wall. And then Nova Centurion shortly behind them in third spot. Not much change in this final tonight. On the first leg for City of Peterborough is Mackenzie Wyatt. So many strong swimmers in the Peterborough ranks. Their team made up of Mackenzie Wyatt, Poppy Richardson, Chloe Hannum and Mia Leach as well. They're currently leading the way right now at the halfway point of the first leg. It's Lydia Britton of Wandsworth. The first of a double dose of Britons. They'll be taking to the pool for Wandsworth and flying their flag. Beatrice will be next to pick up the baton for them at the end of this 100.
Well, Wandsworth well and truly going out for this one, then coming in lane 5. They were the second fastest in the heats this morning. And Beatrice Britton now just trying to consolidate the lead that was built by Philida Britton over that first leg. But now very much seeing Nova Centurion coming through here from lane 3. Of course, heats, especially race for lanes, they're never quite going to be gunning for it. They're never going to show exactly what they're capable of, and there will be some very candid swims, some very, very easy, relaxed swims to just make sure that they are ready to go in the final. And now we'll start to see things change a little bit. And City of Peterborough certainly feeling the sting as the battle between Nova Centurion and Wandsworth hots up here, and they are leaving Poppy Richardson behind ever so slightly. Nova Centurion in first then, followed by Wandsworth, followed by City of Peterborough.
I was just wondering, Laura, when you've got a race earlier on with the race for the lanes, as you mentioned, and you get City of Peterborough so far out in front, is there much that the other two teams can change in between the morning and then the finals in the evening? Well, Nova Centurion has certainly changed a bit from the morning so far. Being the slowest team, they are quite a bit out in front. Currently in the pool for them is Freya Colbert. They call her the Pocket Rocket. And you can see The only one on screen right now that she does have that bit of water around her. Wandsworth in second position, tightly tucked away between first and third. With Wandsworth there, and then City of Peterborough currently in third. So Freya Colbert not letting up at all, is she? And the kicks and the strokes as strong as they have been throughout her set of 100 meters. This is the second part of her leg now, and you have to say that there has been some new life injected into Nova Centurion coming into this final. They have a lot of purpose about them. City of Peterborough, it's not going their own way. Poppy Richardson has now overturned the buffer that was separating her and Beatrice Britton of Wandsworth. That could be a very interesting battle to look out for as we surpass the halfway point, but clearly in front, coming towards the final few meters before she passes over things. Freya Colbert now to Molly Wright, who plunges into the pool with Nova Centurion at the halfway point on a split time of 4:09.26.
Yeah, Nova Centurion now have really taken this race by the scruff of the neck. They're making it their own here. 4:09, they turned in there at the 400. Now we see Molly Wright in the water. And can she extend this lead they built? Will they let the City of Peterborough and Wandsworth back in? It's interesting to see how they've actually managed to pace this relay. And often you will see clubs deciding to front end their relay teams, get the two strongest swimmers in first, especially over a 4x2, and build up a sizable enough lead that actually it means the other clubs, the other teams within the pool won't quite be able to get back into contention. Often you'll see clubs putting their stronger swimmers on 1 and 4, and 2 and 3, simply a case of consolidating what they know 1 and 4 are capable of. And different tactics will mean different leads changing all the time throughout the course of this 4x2 freestyle relay for women, our penultimate event of the evening. Don't go anywhere, we do have the men's 1500 to come, and that is going to be thrilling.
Well, I'm really surprised with the way that this race has gone so far. It seemed like a formality that City of Peterborough would come into this one and basically replicate what they did this morning and maybe just push on a little further as well. But Nova Centurion, credit to them, they have pulled one straight out of the hat. And still Molly Wright going at a very good pace, making sure that the preceding work of Polly Holden on the first leg and then Freya Colbert coming towards the halfway point, their work has not gone to waste at all. Molly Wright just in the final 25 meters for her now. She is slightly being pursued from behind by Chloe Hannum, and her pace is looking very strong indeed. The buffer closing at the front. However, there will be a fresh swimmer in the pool now, courtesy of Annie Pearson, who will try and at least maintain the lead that her team currently boast right now. Mia Leach into the pool for City of Peterborough. She's got a bit of work to do, but she's got 200 meters to do it, and you would think that's enough for her. However, she probably didn't expect if her team was going to be behind right now, it would be by this much. Wandsworth, meanwhile, off camera making their change with Isis Clearleo exchanging spots for Anna Birdcheck. A lot of work for her to do if she's to wriggle away into the front two. But right now, the gap at the front, very sizable indeed, almost 7 seconds with Nova Centurion in front of City of Peterborough. The pursuit for the latter has to be well and truly on, and right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure City of Peterborough can close this gap. Mia Leach versus Annie Pearson. Wandsworth at the moment not in contention. City of Peterborough then, Leach with some work to do as Pearson begins her final 100 meters here of her 200 leg. And the time, the gap between them remaining around about the same, 7 seconds or so. Pearson knows all she's got to do now is keep her head, keep her nose out in front and swim to her own pace, swim to the best of her abilities, and she knows she'll get there. You can't think about what the likes of Leach are doing. Leach is on the chase, and that is an incentive, and that will often spur swimmers on to do things perhaps they didn't know they were capable of coming into the pool. So Pearson's very much got to stay out there in front, let herself be hunted down, swim to her own pace as they come down this final 50.
Well, goodness knows what the conversation was between Nova Centurion, their coaches and their swimmers in the interval between the heats and this evening's finals, but whatever it was, it has certainly done the trick, and it looks as if, despite the suspected pressure that would be coming on from City of Peterborough, they're going to go all the way as well. Fantastic stuff from Polly Holden, Freya Colbert, Molly Wright, and now Annie Pearson. What a turnaround. 8:24.56 the winning time, slicing several tens of seconds off of the time they got this morning. City of Peterborough next in, courtesy of Mia Leach. Their time 8:38.6. It was still a big improvement for them from the time this morning, but Nova Centurion, goodness me, a rabbit out of a hat from them. They have done superbly well to take that women's 4x200 metre freestyle relay final.
Well, there we go then, the 4x200 freestyle relay, and victory goes to Nova Centurion. A brilliant race in the end, and very much a decisive victory for the Nova Centurion club over the City of Peterborough, with Wandsworth in third now. Delighted to be joined not by Steve, but by Molly Renshaw. Steve's just to our left, with another very special guest who we're going to bring in for some commentary for the 1500 metre freestyle. But first, Molly, congratulations. A great swim for you today in the 200 metre breaststroke. How happy are you with your form at this time of year?
Yeah, that was a pretty solid swim for me. I think people come here forgetting that it's December, and if we were swimming these times in December in another year, they'd be over the moon with the times, but because it's the qualifiers, they put a lot more pressure on themselves. So I'm happy with that. I was already on the team for that event, so it's kind of just coming here and practicing and trying different techniques to see what will work for me come April.
So as, I guess, a slightly more senior swimmer, you're certainly not going for, you know, your debut games, but actually you are trying new things here and just trying different things out, especially against the Canadians as well. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's always room for improvement. For me, it's working on my back 50 and seeing how fast I can come back. So that was kind of my main focus there, and having the Canadian girls to race was also amazing because she's going to be on the Gold Coast. So yeah, it's nice to understand how other people race, and so when you get to the major games, you don't react in a bad way if they're coming back at you in the last 50. Your thoughts on the Canadians' form 3.5 months or so out the Gold Coast? Pretty good, yeah. Pretty quick, we'll say. Pretty quick. I mean, I know she always comes back quite fast on the last 50, and that was kind of my focus going in. So I was like, if I can be with her at 150 and keep up with her till the end, I'll be quite happy with that. So. And Jocelyn Uliet also going in with you as well. Of course, the British record holder, 2:22.08. So quite the tussle between you two as well, actually. It's not just the others, the Canadians, the Australians you need to look out for, but your own teammate. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like the top few swimmers in the Commonwealth are all quite tight on their time. So I think come April, it's going to be a really interesting final. It really is. It truly is. We've got the 1500 metre freestyle to come, and thank you very much to Molly Renshaw for joining us here in the studio. Delighted to say we're going to have Amy Wilmot in just a moment's time, who's going to come in on the commentary for the 1500 metre freestyle. And there is your start list. Thanks then to Molly. And here we go with the 1500 metre freestyle, our final event of the evening. And what an event it's going to be. Tom Derbyshire, Toby Robinson and Jay Lelliott, the three to look out for. We're about to see our swimmers come out and get ready to go for this 1500 free. Here we go then, fastest entry, 15:02.12, his PB here. Tom Derbyshire comes in lane 4. Toby Robinson coming in at 15:09.50 now. Worth noting, of course, the consideration time for the Commonwealth Games is a 15:06.18. We have no swimmers currently qualified, and we have had no English Commonwealth champion since Bob Levers in 1938, when the event was contested over 1650 yards rather than 1500 metres. So gives you some idea, very much a champion we are waiting for.
Yeah, this is going to be a really competitive race as well. Loads of stories all over the place. Toby Robinson, Tom Derbyshire and Jay Elliott. Those are the names to really look out for. Sam Budd is also very, very quick over this distance as well. And a big shout out to William Bell, born in January 2002. He's in lane 0 in this one. So he's done well to make the fastest race. And we're looking forward to seeing how William Bell can do. We're also going to heavily focus here on the guys in the middle who are chasing that Commonwealth selection time. This is the men's 1500 metres freestyle fastest heat. And delighted to say we've been joined on the commentary for this one by Amy Wilmot. Amy, first go at commentary, how are you feeling?
I'm pretty excited. This is going to be a really good race, so I'm quite happy to be up here and watching.
Yeah, and you've enjoyed this meet so far. You had a stonker in the 400-metre individual medley, winning that by quite a long way. Consideration time hit as well. It's been pretty successful for you.
Yeah, I had a really good start on day one, and I've had a couple of days off now, so it's been good to get in the stands and cheer for the rest of the guys that are swimming and aiming for these qualification times. And I'm back up tomorrow, so yeah, I'll be back in action as soon as I am.
Yeah, is that self-plug there? absolutely shameless. Okay, so 1500 metres, we've got a lot of competition in this pool here, in particular the middle lanes, like with Tom Derbyshire, Toby Robinson, Jay Elliott. Mentioned a couple of times Jay's last chance to qualify now. He's just missed out in the 2 and the 4. This is about as much pressure as you can possibly get at trials.
Yeah, I think the 1500 is obviously a pretty grueling race, and to kind of have this one as the event that you're hanging on, waiting for that qualification time, it is a big ask, and these guys have already kind of gone out for it, and the 4 of them have took a little bit of a lead, so they're obviously fighting for these times, and it'll be probably a pretty tough race down to the wire.
Already we're seeing Budd, Elliott, Derbyshire and Robinson then just inching ahead of the rest of the field here. Bird, Wells and Bell, Murphy, Osborne and Hughes not quite able to stick with the pace that the centre 4 lanes are setting early on, and it's very much going to be a drag race. Don't forget, a maximum of 3 swimmers per event can qualify for the Commonwealth Games here. So if 4 swimmers dip under that time, they will be ranked and 1 will miss out. A maximum of 32 swimmers will go to the Gold Coast next year. 15 have already been selected. This is going to be very interesting indeed if we can see any of these swimmers dip under that time. 15:06.18. The one to beat. Jay Elliott's PB is a 14:58.74. Tom Derbyshire has swum a 15:02.12. So these boys have got those times in the locker, and it's whether they can reproduce them now when it counts, when it matters, and when the pressure is on.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy, you're one of those swimmers who swum the consideration time this week. What would it mean to you to go to those Gold Coast Games in the new year?
It's an honour to kind of swim for your country regardless, and I've done a few Commonwealth Games now, and each one I've loved just as much as any other meet, and to swim for a Commonwealth Games in England, it's just the pride and the honour of doing so, and I guess there's more spaces up for grabs as Great Britain to then get more swimmers out there, get more experience at major meets, and I think that's when you have a lot of fun with the older guys and the younger guys really mixing in and kind of being a whole team.
And Australia is also a pretty incredible venue for a Commonwealth as well. They're not here, the Canadians have been. It's been pretty nice having the Canadians over here and pushing you guys right to the limit as well. It's been some really quick swims, international competition ahead of the international competition.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you want to be doing all year. You want to be racing tough, whether you're rested or not, and swimming against the best swimmers in the world and getting some good competition in. So I think for us to kind of have to swim fairly well in December is a big ask, and if you can do well here, then I think progressing on in January, you've got a good chance of doing well out on the Gold Coast.
Of course, usually this is a short course meet, and December's not the time we're expecting the international swimmers to be hitting PBs and to be having to swim to the very limits of their ability, but that's what's being asked due to the nature of the Commonwealth being in April. How tough has that been to actually prepare for and know that come December, so you're starting back in the pool in September and you've only got 3 months to peak?
It's quite a big ask, and more kind of to the point, there's not many long course events normally from sort of September to December. So you've had to kind of find where the long course meets are. I haven't raced a lot up until September, so I had to kind of find long course meets, the swim at Manchester, sort of work on stand-ups in training, because a lot of the meets, and especially as you're younger, you've got regionals and counties, and everything's short course normally before Christmas. So these guys to stand up and do a long course 1500 is a huge ask and a huge effort, and these guys so far are doing a really, really, really good race.
Yeah, let's just take a little look at the race. Leading the way at the moment is Tom Derbyshire, lane 4, Bath University swimmer, 4:01.50 after 8 lengths of this competition pool. Jay Elliott sticking with him, 4:01.96. Toby Robinson not too far behind in 4:02.27. Sam Budd also well up there. It's a group of 4 leaders, but just starting to fade away a little bit as Tom Derbyshire starts to make something of a move. Amy, we know you're very used to swimming these longer distances as a swimmer. Give us a little bit of an insight here as to what sort of tactics play into this race. Can you swim your own race in a race like this, or have you got to take other swimmers into consideration?
I think these 3 can't really afford to let each other get away. They're obviously the 4 guys at the front are battling for 3 spaces and to achieve a time. And when I used to swim 1500s fairly often, every now and again when I was a little bit younger, I used to kind of take it in stages. So they've just come at the first 500 metre mark where they're kind of just building through the race, getting into it and settling down, maybe trying to even out their stroke counts and stroke rates. And the middle 500, now they're probably a few of them you might see push on and really try and make a little bit of a gap. And then the last 500, even though it's obviously a little bit of a way, is normally the home straight. So I would expect these guys now to put in a solid couple of hundred, and you might see the pack break up even a little bit more.
And also, talk about a 1500, it's a long old time. It's one of the few races as a swimmer where you really get a lot of time to think about it as well. What's the mental pressure like? You're turning every 50 metres, you've got to turn 30 times. It's a lot to think about. Is that the main battle in a race like this? Is it inside your own head?
Yeah, if you're kind of not feeling great at the beginning of the race, you can kind of then start battling with yourself, thinking, right, it's okay, you're swimming into it, you've done 500-600 metres, now you just get through the stroke, keep it long and work. But if you're not having the greatest start to the race and it is feeling sluggish and you are feeling tired, it is one of the really tough events to kind of get that out of your head and think, well, anything can change and you can't control how anyone else is feeling, so just focus on your own race and your own lane and just try and make it as easy as possible.
You can definitely think yourself out of a race like this. I swam 800, certainly not to your level, Amy, I must say, but you can really think yourself out of it. If you're not feeling good over that first 100, 150, you suddenly start to play games with yourself and think, well, hang on, why do my arms feel like this? Why is my breathing not feeling right? Why aren't I hitting that rhythm that I know I can hit day in, day out in training? And these pace 50s don't feel right. And you can just begin to lose that battle in your head.
Yeah, Jay Elliott just starting to hit the front here a little bit, just maybe starting to make something of a move over Tom Derbyshire. These two know each other pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how they can go. Jay, we mentioned, has just missed out on the 2 and the 400. It's very, very difficult with that mental battle to keep on coming back and throughout a meet. I'm sure you've had that experience at some point during your career anyway. It's not quite going as well as you'd like. Last race in the meet, how do you deal with that?
I think you've got to take each race that comes, and obviously Jay's now just missed a couple of the times and this is his last event, so if I was him I'd be thinking I've got nothing else to lose, everything to gain, and give this one the best possible chance I can to get on that team and just give it a real good go.
Well, that right there is the halfway point, 7:33.62 for Jay Elliott. Just in behind him, Tom Derbyshire, 7:33.91. Little bit of a gap building up, not a huge one, admittedly. Toby Robinson still very much in contention, but he's just dropped away from the front 2 here, and Amy mentioned that the pack might split up. That's exactly what's happened. Toby Robinson just falling away, Samuel Budd even more so. So Toby just caught in a little bit of no man's land here. He might have to swim out on his own for a little bit, but Jay and Tom are certainly going hammer and tong in the middle of the pool.
So 7:33 at 7:50, I was just doing some maths, not my forte, in my head there over that 50, and he's going to have to come back in the same to hit a 15:06 over the 1500. So he's going to have to even pace this or negative split this race to ensure that he gets to the Commonwealth Games? And how difficult is it to negative split a race?
It is quite challenging, but if you practice in training, you're always even splitting things and negative splitting, then these guys have got the ability and the confidence in themselves to know that they'll be strong on the back end of the race. So obviously with this first middle 500, you might even see their times improve and their 100 splits drop. So it isn't an unachievable ask for these guys to negative split a 1500 race.
No, these guys obviously have been training and know exactly how to negative split a race. For those listening who perhaps aren't sure of the terminology, negative split simply means coming back faster, coming back harder than you went out. So for example, Jay Elliott, they're going out for the first half of the race in a 7:33. If he comes back in a 7:30 for that next 7:50, that will be a negative split. And indeed, if he does that, that will mean he is very likely to dip under that 15:06.18 that he needs to make himself known to the selectors to get out there to the Gold Coast next year. That is his challenge now. As Amy says, though, not unachievable at all.
No, Jay looks really good here, and so does Tom, both keeping really long strokes, and they look like they're still swimming into the race. They don't look like they're fatiguing too much, and they've not really brought a lot of their legs in yet, as they're still sort of in that middle 500 metres of the race. So these two are looking really good as they come down to the 1,000-metre mark.
And what is the thinking now as they come in to the final 500 metres? You're right that distance swimmers will split that race up. 800 will split it into 4 2s or perhaps even a 2-4-2. 1500 you've got 3 500s. What's their thinking now coming into the last third of the race?
I think they're probably thinking almost it's the downhill part. They've done the hard work, they've broke away from the other guys in the middle of the race, and now, as you see, Jay's just starting to bring in his legs, and the last 500 he'll be hoping to push on a little bit further, and Tom hopefully stay with him. So for mental terms, these guys are thinking it's the downhill straight, they've got 500 metres to go and just get to the wall.
How aware are you when you're in the pool of how quick you're swimming? Obviously, in the shorter races, it doesn't really matter too much. You just get to the wall quicker than everyone else. But obviously, in a race like this, it's essentially a time trial for these two. How easy is it to be aware of how quickly you are swimming?
It's not that easy, really, especially on freestyle. You've got these guys sort of swimming on their own, all in their own lanes, and there's a gap between each of them. So if they can even drop slightly off pace, they might knock themselves out. But I guess they'll have coaching staff on the pool side waving them on, giving them encouragement, and making sure that they are keeping to a pace, as they're not just fighting for gold, silver and bronze, they are fighting for those times to get on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, absolutely. Those coaches haven't quite started waving too frantically just yet, but that might change as we head into the latter stages of this one. Just 400 metres to go. Jay Elliott leads the way, 11:04.95 in his last chance saloon. Tom Derbyshire is behind him, 11:07.82. He may need to pick up the pace there, but without question, Jay Elliott is certainly doing that. You see far more splash coming out the back of his legs. He's starting to really motor hit.
And actually a moment as well, we've got Jay Elliott, but of course, next to him as well, what goes through your mind? You're in lane 4, Tom Derbyshire there, lane 4, fastest entry you're going in, and you can see the woman next to you beginning to move away, and try as you might, you cannot keep hold of them. What's going through his mind?
Probably just to give it everything he can. I've had these moments in a fundamentally where people down the last length are coming at you and there's nothing you can do, and they're getting away, but Tom at the moment still fighting for a time, so he can't really be thinking in his head too negative. He's just got to try and see if he can push as close as he can to Jay and just really worry about giving his best performance and getting as close as he can to those times.
And of course, as you said, you don't actually know, he doesn't know if Jay Elliott's perhaps having a blinder and swimming well below sub 15. He's got to stick to his pace, his rhythm.
Yeah, I think it's really important in distance swimming to get into your own rhythm and stick to that rhythm, and if you kind of fall off and you worry about what everyone else is doing, you can throw your own race off. So it is really important for these guys to just keep focusing on what they're doing, keep their same technique, the count, and whether they're working on that into the last couple of 100 metres and just really work into the finish.
Yeah, we're really getting into the nitty-gritty, the business end of this 1500 metres. 12:36.93 with 250 metres to go. Tom Derbyshire remains in contention, but he's clinging on really by the coattails. He's struggling to keep up with the pace of Jay Elliott, who's gone out really hard here. And as soon as he hit that point where he said goodbye to the rest of the field, he's never really looked back. He's swimming out on his own. It's never an easy thing to do. But he has to, he's got to go out there, he's got to go out there hard. This is his last chance, and he's treating it as such.
Pressure definitely now on Jay Elliott's shoulder. He's got rid of Tom Derbyshire. Derbyshire looked there like he might just be making tracks, but I don't think he'll be able to close that gap, especially because Jay Elliott will be giving absolutely everything to get to that wall under the time he needs, 15:06.18. Now it is a case of Jay Elliott versus the clock, with a Commonwealth Games place up for grabs. No pressure.
Just 3 more lengths to go then. It's been a long old race for Jay Elliott. It's been a long old year for him. If he can end it with a Commonwealth consideration time, all the pain will have been worth it. He went all the way to Taiwan, competed in the World University Games there, wanted to set Commonwealth times, as that was an event that was considered, didn't quite manage that despite performing well. He's quite literally been to the ends of the earth here this year to try and get those Commonwealth times that will see him on the plane to Australia. And right now, as the bell rings, he's got 100 metres to do it. Is he on for it?
Yes, we've got to believe that he can. He's got 100 metres to go. Everyone's going to be going mental for Jay down this last length. I'm certainly nervous watching. And it's obviously the hardest part of the race, the last 100 metres, but you're just giving everything you can down that last 75.
14:10.06 was the split with just 100 metres to go. Simple maths means we know he's going to be close. It could be heartbreak once again for Jay Elliott. We hope not. He's going along really nicely. That sign on the board now reads just 150 metres to go. It is going to go down to the wire for Jay Elliott. 1450 metres. His time is 14:40.6. It's going to be so close here. He needs a really strong back 50. Coaches on the far side furiously waving him in. He's got swimmers going past him forwards and backwards. The ones he's lapped. This is all about Jay Elliott, though.
He has just 3, 2, 1 second. He's not achieved it. Jay Elliott then a win in the 1500 here today, but 15:10.22. A stunning swim. He went for it, but just about a couple of meters too long. That one. 15:10.22 for Jay Elliott. The time he needed, 15:06.18. Second goes to Tom Derbyshire, 15:13.21, and Tobias Robinson coming in for third, 15:25.04.
Tom Derbyshire then getting second, Toby Robinson in third. Amy, we know you've suffered disappointments as yourself throughout your career at various points, as well as the highs. How difficult is it to process those? What words of comfort can you offer Jay at this point?
There's probably not a lot that anyone can say really for what Jay's going through in his head. He'll have obviously wanted to get that time and be on, hopefully be on the plane, but that was a fantastic swim, and for him to kind of push that last bit of the race on his own and really work towards that time, it was brilliant, and I think he's done really well, Tabab.
And we're just looking down here from above at what's going on. Hugs all round, but very disappointed faces indeed, and you've really got to feel for these guys.
Yeah, nothing harder to swim than a 1500 metres, to feel the disappointment at the end. And a nice moment in the pool there between a couple of our swimmers. Some other results to pick out there. Shout out to William Bell in 7th place. 15:49 for the youngster from the city of Leicester. Some fine swims across. Those are the confirmed results. Jay Elliott will take the gold medal at the Swim England National Winter Championships, 15:10.22. Amy, thank you so much for joining us on commentary. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed having you.
Thank you very much.
Well, there we go. They're the official results. Jay Elliott, 15:10.22 to take the win. Tom Derbyshire, 15:13.21. Toby Robinson, 15:25.04. We're just saying goodbye to Amy here in the studio. And that was our final event of the evening here on day 3 of the Winter National Championships. So much more to come, though, tomorrow on day 4.
There absolutely is, and it almost feels like a low point to end what's actually been a wonderful night of swimming, and actually a wonderful swim as well. So unfortunate for Jay Elliott, but this is what we can look forward to on day number 4. We open with the women's 200 IM. That's what I'm sure Amy is racing off to prepare for as we speak, as she leaves the studio. Men's 50 breaststroke then follows that. Women's 200 back should be an interesting event, as well as the men's 100 fly. Women's 100 breast then follows. Men's 4x200 freestyle relay team, similar to what we saw in the pool, will be the penultimate event, and we end with the women's 100 freestyle, which, if it's anything like the men's freestyle tonight, Laura, will be a heck of a race.
Oh my goodness me, that was some race. Freya Anderson all already selected. World Junior Champion in that one, Anna Hopkin, Jessica Jackson and Ellie Faulkner all gunning for that. Amy Wilmot will be looking for the 200 IM selection. The race very much on to join Siobhan Marie O'Connor there. Abby Wood also up for that one, as is Molly Renshaw.
It's quite interesting actually. We had Molly and Amy just chatting almost in our studio green room just to the side of us here before they both respectfully joined us here on the BBC.
Tomorrow they'll be at loggerheads
to
get this time. 2:13.00 the qualification time for the Commonwealth Games there. 200 back, of course, Lizzie Simmons already selected. Rosie Rudin and Jessica Fullerlove in contention there. Rosie Rudin already swimming under the consideration time in the 400-metre individual medley, and what beautiful scenes we saw on day one with her and Ellie Faulkner, both delighted for each other.
And Jess Fullerlove as well in the 100 back did get the qualification standard time as well. So those two, it'll be interesting to see. They're swimming with pressure off. They already know they've got those standard times, they've got those in the bank. There's nothing really more they can do in terms of those events. It's a little bit of pressure off. What can they produce in the 200? Can they really push on and produce something pretty special?
Absolutely. And now another man who's done very well this evening, Jacob Peters in the 200 fly. He dipped under that consideration time, second only to the man already selected in the 100 fly, James Guy. He added a fourth event to his schedule on the Gold Coast. Jacob Peters then swims tomorrow in the 100 fly. The time he needs, 52.19. And Federico Badiso, who we saw swim very well indeed over the 100 free, he is the fastest entry in that one. We can see now the presentation for that 100 freestyle, which was a stunning race. Less than a second separated 1 to 10 in that final. It was truly brilliant.
Absolutely remarkable race. I've been chatting with a few people just off air. I'm not sure I've ever seen a race where lanes 0 and 9 have tied for first. I think that's genuinely a first for me. And you know, over the years, I've watched a decent amount of swimming in my time. It's quite an incredible feat. It really is a rarity. That was a quite unique race we witnessed earlier.
No, I agree with you. I don't think I've ever seen a race like that either. Absolutely brilliant to watch, thrilling for the crowds in here, and I hope you enjoyed that at home as well. As we see, there it is, David Cumberledge and Jarvis Parkinson from lane 0 and lane 9 taking that one. Now, before the race, we did say to watch out for the outside lanes, and truly it was a race, it was a lineup where the wind could come from anywhere. We wished our commentator Jonathan good luck beforehand, because you could not have predicted what would happen.
Well, I hope they got a second trophy for, for the pair of them. Wonder if David's planning on taking it all by himself, who knows?
Well, there you go, they couldn't even predict it. They don't even have 2 trophies, do they?
No, terrific race, that one, the 100 free. Yeah, they're allowed to share it now for the photograph. I'm sure there'll be some bragging rights and some dibs, maybe, on who gets to keep the trophy. Maybe some stakes being claimed right now, who knows?
And of course, while none of the men in that 100 free went under the Commonwealth consideration time, we weren't really expecting that, if we're being honest. I think the race today was for positions, and that's what we saw, an absolute battle. You wanted to hit the top 4 in that final there to make sure you're in contention for a relay spot in the 4x100 freestyle relay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not necessarily do or die for these swimmers. Yes, the consideration times are very tough, and some of them have gone very close. It's not necessarily all over. The relays do exist. The teams are very flexible on relays. Sometimes selectors will take a gamble on a swimmer if they think that they can produce the times they need in a major event. So it's not necessarily all over, but trials, the very nature of them, the pressure and the do or die nature is impossible to miss.
We were hearing from Amy and Molly as well, actually, both saying that it's not usual for swimmers to hit the kind of times that they are being forced to hit by nature of the Commonwealth selection in December. It's very early on in the season. They're back in the water in September after a break over the summer, and usually at this time of year you're just about seeing where you're at and perhaps gearing up for 2018. But in a way, it's almost like we're in April now for these swimmers, depending on where they usually are aiming to peak, which is in July, and they've had to really accelerate through this first block of winter training, this first cycle, to ensure they're hitting their peaks. And we know, we were talking to some coaches earlier, that clubs are upping their volume of training to ensure that these guys are ready to go come the Gold Coast.
Well, we were chatting to Roberto just before he came on air, and whilst he didn't allude to it whilst he was on air, he did mention about the Plymouth Leander squad, how much extra work they are making their swimmers do. We're talking 80 kilometres a week, Laura, which and I know as a former swimmer yourself, you're not unknown to that hard work, but that's pretty strenuous for anyone.
An 80k week is a phenomenal week. That is a big week indeed. We're talking hours in the pool, and on top of the 80k in the pool, you're also thinking about the amount of gym work they're doing as well. And then for some of these, they're kids, they're 17, 18, they're going to be at uni, at college, they're going to have work, schoolwork, exams around that as well. It's full on for these guys, and it's impressive to see them juggling their commitments and also excelling in the pool as well.
Yeah, some of the youngsters here being rewarded in the relay squads. We saw big smiles on the face of Wandsworth in particular. Maybe a club that's not used to gaining too many medals at these national events, and a big moment for those guys to pick up a bronze. City of Peterborough more than used to picking up national medals in the relays. They've got some really good young swimmers, in particular the young girls there at City of Peterborough down in the East region. Really good spirit in that team, and some of them are already starting to make the step up. Like Molly Allen now at Loughborough, formerly of Peterborough, just making that step up into national senior finals. Nova Centurion picking up the gold and the trophy in the women's 4x2 freestyle team event relay. And it's worth pointing out that whilst we're talking about swimmers peaking at this event in Sheffield, we're also looking at those swimmers peaking at their event in Copenhagen as well. Len European Short Course Championships are on concurrently with this event here in Sheffield, and we can inform you that Ben Proud claimed Great Britain's third medal of the championships this evening. He took silver in the men's 50 metres freestyle to go with the medals of Adam Peaty and Duncan Scott, who both achieved bronzes. Proud secured his silver, new PB of 20.66 as well. We had the men's 100 breaststroke, of course, in that event, and that's where you're looking for Adam Peaty, and he performed very well. He swam a PB as well in his semi-final, and yet again he did it in the 50, a championship record in the semi-final as well. The man just doesn't stop. He's had such a wonderful year, nominated of course for BBC Sports Personality of the Year on Sunday. He's had an incredible year. Duncan Scott also swimming very well in their semi-finals. It's been a successful evening in the pool for Great Britain in the Len European Short Course Championships in Copenhagen, and a successful evening in the pool for us here, just in terms of entertainment more than anything else, though. It's been relentless. I've
just about got over that 100 free final, but also we end on quite a sobering note in that 1500 metre freestyle to see Jay Elliott again miss out by about 4 seconds or so over 1500. That isn't much at all, and it's really disappointing to see their faces when they come to the wall. It shows exactly how much it hurts, what they've put into it over the past year, really, to make sure they're here ready to go, and Jay Elliott just on the wrong side of luck over the course of this meet. So thoughts go out to him and how he now deals with that coming up to the Gold Coast Games, because he's going to have to watch his fellow swimmers, his teammates, go off to Australia, and he's at home.
Well, we just saw the emotions of Amy Wilmot during that race. Amy wasn't on screen, but trust me, she was going through the emotional mill, to say the least, especially on that last 50 metres or the last 100. When we saw the touch at the 100, there was a chance, but Jay had to go so quickly over that last 100.
He had to get over on the back 100,
which is never easy tough anyway. But at the back end of a 1500 it's next to impossible essentially, and the support was there. Amy knows Jay very well, having been at multiple international events with him. A couple of stories were shared off air, which I can't repeat on air, but they know each other very well. And I know Amy was disappointed, but that's what she was talking about when she was with us. Was there becomes a real camaraderie with these swimmers. They swim against each other all the time, but there is a huge level of respect, especially at national level and local level, of course. A huge level of respect and indeed friendship. yes, Jay Elliott didn't get the time he was looking for tonight, but we saw the hugs of support from the swimmers he just spent the last 15 minutes racing against. It's always there.
Swimmers who were also going for the time as well. You can see Toby Robinson looking bitterly disappointed, punched the water in frustration as well, actually, and it just shows that these swimmers, it's brutal what they go through, and they truly have to go for it. And here, this is their one chance, and it shows the pressure can break you sometimes. Stakes very high indeed, as we see now the body language of people who don't want to be on a medal podium. They'd give back any medal, I think, to dip under that consideration time.
Absolutely, and don't forget some young men in particular who are very pleased to be on the medal podium, especially with the junior medals. Toby Robinson there, not particularly pleased. There was an element of frustration, but a wry smile for Toby Robinson there. At least in a form of consolation for Toby, was he knows he wasn't really that close ultimately at the end. He'll be disappointed with his race, but it's less of the raw agony of just missing out. Of course, that's no consolation now, but maybe some comfort.
These boys now have just got to draw on this experience of missing out, the cruelty, the pain of it, the brutality of it, and this will be the building blocks for the next cycle to come. As tough as it feels now, it'll be all the sweeter when success does, and I'm sure it will come.
So Jay Elliott picks up a gold medal in this event, and a big shout out to William Bell as well. Just born at the start of 2002, Laura. He is very much still in school, despite the fact he's nearly taller than Jay Elliott, stood on the podium next to him, who is considerably his senior. And nice to see Jay congratulating him there on the junior title. William Bell swimming in the same race and coming 7th in the fastest final in a nationals. Really, really good. And the contrasting smiles between Bell and Elliott is quite considerable. But as Amy said to us, what's the next step for Jay? He's just got to process it. He's just got to get over the disappointment.
Big sigh, shrug of the shoulders there from Jay Elliott. He's done all he can.
He has indeed.
We will look at the schedule though. Coming up tomorrow, we have another packed day for you on day 4 of these Winter National Championships here at Ponds Forge in Sheffield. Here we go then, the women's 200-metre individual medley. The race is on to join Siobhan Marie O'Connor on the Gold Coast. Abby Wood, Molly Renshaw, Amy Wilmot, all featuring there to dip under that consideration time of 2:13.00. We've then got Splash and Dash in the 50 breaststroke. Of course, the man of the hour, Adam Peaty, over in Copenhagen racing, so we won't see him here, but that'll be quick nonetheless. Women's 200-metre backstroke. Lizzie Simmons already selected. Rosie Rudin, Jessica Fullerlove in contention there. Men's 100 fly then, James Guy already selected, and the time there 52.19. What can Jacob Peters do after that 200 fly today? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? No one maybe gave Jacob Peters much of a chance of hitting that, but all of a sudden he swum a phenomenal race in the 200 fly, and he might well be in contention. We'll keep an eye on him. Federico Badiso as well swam fantastically well tonight. We'll be keeping an eye on him. In the women's 100-metre breaststroke, Sarah Vasey and Siobhan Marie O'Connor already selected. Can Imogen Clark make the step up is what we'll be looking out for tomorrow. Siobhan Marie O'Connor is, of course, with us in this race and over the course of this week, and it's been impressive to see her swim a couple of different events as well. Imogen Clark certainly went very quick indeed over the 50, 30 point. We'll see if she can just keep that going for another length and touch under that consideration time of 1:07.81. We're finishing on the women's 100 free as well. Freya Anderson selected. She is the world junior champion. Anna Hopkin, Jessica Jackson, Ellie Faulkner, all contenders to hit that consideration time of 54.30. It's going to be an action-packed evening indeed. I do hope you've enjoyed all the action we've had for you today. Stunning swims from the likes of Molly Renshaw and James Guy. Brilliant to see Amy Wilmot here in the studio as well, commentating on what was a brilliant but ultimately sobering 1500-metre final.
So close yet so far. The story of Jay Elliott's championships. We end on a low note, but don't forget all the highs we experienced over the course of this third day of the National Winter Championships here at Ponds Forge. We hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope you're going to join us tomorrow to do it all over again on day number 4. It should be another cracker. For myself and Laura, a very good evening.
Good night.